I never meant to stare. But in that moment when our eyes met across the beach, everything changed between us. My name is Mason Cole, and this is how one embarrassing moment with my boss turned my life upside down in ways I never could have imagined. The summer sun beat down mercilessly on Clearwater Beach as I struggled to keep up with my 7-year-old daughter, Aria. Being a single dad for 3 years had taught me many things about patience and resilience. But nothing could have prepared me for the challenges of a beach day with an energetic child who possessed unlimited stamina and insatiable curiosity about everything around her. "Daddy, look at my sandcastle," Aria called out, her small brown hands patting down a lopsided tower that was more sand pile than architectural marvel. Her dark, curly hair was pulled back into 2 puffs, adorned with colorful beads that clicked together whenever she moved her head with excitement. The joy radiating from her face made my heart swell, with the kind of love only a parent truly understands. "That's amazing, sweetheart," I replied, adjusting our beach umbrella against the persistent wind that kept threatening to send it tumbling down the shore. "You're really getting the hang of this whole castle building thing." This rare Saturday off was precious beyond measure. Working as a senior graphic designer at Lumina Creative meant most weekends were spent catching up on projects or preparing for Monday presentations that always seemed to demand more than I had left to give. The creative industry was relentless, and the expectation to always be available, always be innovating, was exhausting in ways difficult to explain. I glanced at my phone. No messages from the office, a miracle of the highest order. My boss, Sienna Ward, had a well-established reputation for disrupting weekends with urgent requests she deemed absolutely essential. Her dedication to excellence was admirable, but it often came at the expense of everyone's personal time, including her own. Sienna was brilliant, driven, and intimidating as hell. At 35, she had built Lumina Creative from absolutely nothing into one of the most sought-after boutique marketing firms in Chicago. Her vision had attracted clients from Fortune 500 companies to innovative startups. Everyone respected her. Many feared her. I had complicated feelings about working under someone who was both my professional inspiration and the source of my constant anxiety. She was a striking black woman with deep brown skin that seemed to glow with inner confidence, and eyes that could pierce through any pretense or excuse. In meetings, she commanded attention without ever raising her voice. Her presence alone made even seasoned executives sit straighter and choose their words more carefully. "Can we get ice cream?" Aria asked, abandoning her sandcastle as quickly as she'd started it, her attention span typical of her age. She looked up at me with those big brown eyes, so much like her mother's. "After lunch," I promised, reaching into our cooler for the sandwiches I'd packed that morning. "Come eat something real first, baby girl. You've been running around so much." Aria reluctantly joined me under the umbrella, her small feet kicking up sand. "But I'm not hungry for sandwiches," she protested, though her rumbling stomach suggested otherwise. "Nice try," I laughed, handing her food. "Eat up and then we'll talk about ice cream." As Aria took a bite, I scanned the crowded beach. Families scattered across the sand, children building castles and splashing in waves, couples walking hand in hand along the water's edge. The scene was postcard perfect, a reminder of simple pleasures that made life worth living. That's when I saw her. At first, I didn't recognize Sienna. Out of her usual tailored suits and commanding heels, she looked like a completely different person. Her dark hair was loose around her shoulders instead of pulled back in her signature tight bun. Natural curls I had never seen before cascaded past her shoulders, catching sunlight in a way that made her seem almost ethereal. She was laughing, something I had rarely witnessed at the office. With a woman who appeared to be her sister, based on their strikingly similar features. They shared the same high cheekbones, the same elegant bone structure, the same way of throwing their heads back when genuinely amused. The sound of Sienna's laughter carried across the beach, and I found myself captivated by this side of her I had never known existed. I quickly looked away, hoping she hadn't noticed me watching. The last thing I wanted was to discuss work on my day off with Arya. "Daddy, who's that lady?" Arya asked, following my gaze with observational skills that constantly surprised me. "Just someone from work," I muttered, suddenly very interested in unwrapping our sandwiches. "Nobody important. I mean, she's important, but not right now. Right now, we're focused on having fun." But curiosity got the better of me. I glanced up again just as Sienna was adjusting her beach wrap. The timing couldn't have been worse. The wind caught the light fabric, lifting it away from her body as she changed positions. For a brief, eternal moment, she was exposed from the waist up before quickly securing the wrap around herself. Time seemed to freeze, the sounds of the beach fading away as my brain struggled to process what had happened. Our eyes met across the distance. Horror washed over me as I realized she had caught me looking directly at her during this vulnerable moment. Her expression shifted from shock to recognition to something I couldn't quite read. Was it anger? Embarrassment? I immediately looked down, my face burning with embarrassment that had nothing to do with the summer sun. This was it. I was going to be fired Monday. 3 years at Lumina Creative, gone because of one unfortunate glance. All the hard work, all the late nights, all the sacrifices, about to disappear. "Daddy, your face is all red," Arya observed with brutal honesty. "It's just the heat," I lied, wondering if I could pack up and leave without making things worse. Before I could decide on an escape plan, a shadow fell across our blanket. "Mr. Cole, what a surprise." Sienna Ward stood before us, now fully covered in an elegant beach wrap, sunglasses perched on her head. Up close, without makeup and formal attire, she looked younger, softer somehow, but no less intimidating. Her natural beauty was even more apparent in this setting. "Miss Ward?" I stammered, jumping to my feet and nearly tripping over the cooler. "I'm so sorry about—" "I didn't mean to. It was an accident, and I wasn't—" She held up a hand, stopping my rambling. "It's Sienna when we're not at the office." Her eyes shifted to Arya, and something in her expression changed. There was a softness I had never seen at work, a gentleness that seemed almost surprising given her formidable reputation. "And who might this be?" "I'm Arya Cole," my daughter announced before I could answer, extending her small hand with surprising formality. "I'm 7 3/4. Sienna's expression softened further as she shook Arya's hand with the same seriousness one might extend to a business associate. "It's very nice to meet you, Arya Cole. That's a very impressive age." "This is my boss," I explained to Arya, still mortified. "The one who sends you messages when we're watching movies?" Arya asked innocently. Sienna raised an eyebrow, and I wished the sand would swallow me whole. "Sometimes work is important, even after hours," Sienna replied. But there was something in her tone I had never heard before. Was it regret? Acknowledgement that perhaps she asked too much? An awkward silence fell between us. "Would you like a sandwich?" Arya offered, holding up our lunch with generous hospitality. "Daddy makes them with the crusts cut off." To my complete surprise, Sienna hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Actually, that sounds nice, if you don't mind." Before I could process what was happening, Sienna Ward was sitting on our beach blanket, accepting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from my daughter as if this were the most normal thing in the world. My sister had to take a call, she explained, gesturing toward a woman pacing near the water with a phone pressed to her ear. Work emergency on a Saturday? I couldn't help asking, then immediately winced at my audacity. Sienna's lips curved into a small smile that transformed her entire face. Some bosses are unreasonable that way. Was she making a joke at her own expense? In 3 years, I had never seen this side of Sienna. Daddy's raising me all by himself, Arya announced proudly. My mom lives in California with her new husband. She has a new baby too, but I get to visit sometimes. Arya, I said gently, feeling the familiar twinge of pain. Sienna probably doesn't want to hear about our personal lives. Sienna took a bite of her sandwich, chewing thoughtfully. Actually, I didn't know you were a single parent, Mason. That explains a lot. Explains what? Why you sometimes look like you haven't slept in days, and why you're the only senior designer who never stays for after-work drinks, and why you always rush out at 5. I shrugged, self-conscious. Babysitters are expensive, and Arya needs stability. I can't ask our neighbor to stay late every night. Sienna nodded, watching as Arya returned to her sandcastle. You know, my father raised me and my sister alone after our mother died. Breast cancer, when I was 12 and Harper was 10. It's not an easy job, raising children on your own. This revelation stunned me. Sienna never shared personal details at work. Her life outside Lumina Creative was a complete mystery. There had been endless speculation among staff, but no one dared ask directly. It has its challenges, I admitted, feeling sudden kinship with this woman I had always found so intimidating. But also its rewards. Like beach days? Exactly like beach days. As if reading my thoughts, Sienna said quietly, about what happened earlier. My embarrassment flooded back. I am truly sorry. It was an accident. It was windy, and these beach wraps are unreliable, she interrupted, her tone professional but not cold. Let's just forget it happened. Relief washed over me like the waves breaking on the shore. Thank you. Sienna watched Arya for a moment. How do you do it? Balance everything? The question caught me off guard. Sienna Ward asking me for insights? The woman who seemed to have everything under control? Not very well sometimes, I admitted honestly. There are days when I feel like I'm failing at everything, being a dad, meeting deadlines, keeping the house from falling apart. Some mornings, I can barely get Arya to school on time. Sienna listened intently. But then, there are moments like this, I continued, gesturing toward Arya decorating her castle with shells. And it all feels worth it. Every sleepless night, every missed happy hour, it all leads to moments like this. Sienna nodded slowly, something shifting in her expression. I admire that. The ability to prioritize what matters most. Do you ever take time off? I asked, then immediately regretted the personal question. No, it's a fair question, she replied, surprising me. And the answer is not often enough, according to my sister. She practically dragged me here today. Said if I checked my email one more time during family time, she was throwing my phone in the ocean. I laughed, and after a moment, Sienna joined me. The sound felt natural, comfortable in a way our office interactions never were. Do you want to help with my castle? Arya asked Sienna, returning with shells she had collected. I started to intervene, to save my boss from my daughter's enthusiasm. But Sienna was already getting to her feet. I'd be honored. What followed was perhaps the most surreal 30 minutes of my life. Sienna Ward, terror of the Chicago marketing world, was on her knees in the sand, helping my daughter construct elaborate towers and moats. Her expensive beach wrap was getting covered in wet sand, and she didn't seem to care. She approached sandcastle building with the same intensity she brought to client presentations, suggesting structural improvements with serious consideration. She talked to Aria about the importance of a strong foundation, about patience and attention to detail. And she was really smiling, in a way I had never seen at the office. I found myself captivated. "We need more shells for decoration," Aria announced. "The sparkly ones from over there." "Let's go find some," Sienna agreed, and they walked hand in hand toward the shore. I watched them go, completely bewildered. Aria was usually shy around strangers, but something about Sienna had won her over immediately. When Sienna's sister finally approached, Sienna introduced us. "Harper, this is Mason Cole, one of our senior designers, and his daughter Aria." Harper Ward was slightly taller than her sister, with the same elegant bone structure. Her hair was styled in long braids, and her smile was warm and genuine. "The one whose work you were praising last week?" Harper asked, giving me an appraising look. Sienna shot her sister a warning glance. "Mason is very talented. Daddy draws pictures for computers," Aria explained helpfully. "That's a perfect description," Harper laughed. "Nice to meet you both." As they prepared to leave, Sienna hesitated. "The Henderson presentation on Monday? Don't worry about coming in early. The client pushed it to Wednesday. Thank you for letting me know." She added, almost as an afterthought, "And maybe we should discuss adjusting your schedule. If you're managing all this alone, perhaps we could find a more flexible arrangement. There's no reason you should have to choose between being a good father and being a good designer." I stared at her, speechless. "Enjoy the rest of your weekend," she said. Then, to Aria, "It was a pleasure meeting you. That's quite an impressive sandcastle. You can come see it again sometime," Aria offered generously. "We come to the beach when Daddy doesn't have to work." Sienna smiled, something hopeful flickering in her eyes. "I'd like that." As they walked away, Harper leaned close to her sister, saying something that made Sienna laugh and shake her head. I caught just the tail end, something about obvious, and could have just said hello like a normal person. "I like your boss," Aria declared. "You know what? I think I do too," I replied, realizing I was seeing Sienna Ward, really seeing her for the first time. Monday morning arrived with the usual chaos. Getting Aria ready for school and myself prepared for work was a familiar dance of making breakfast, finding matching socks, and answering endless questions. "Remember, Mrs. Alvarez is picking you up today," I reminded Aria at the school gates. "Tell Miss Sienna I said hi," Aria replied, with a knowing smile far too sophisticated for a 7-year-old. As I walked into Lumina Creative, I braced myself for awkwardness. Would Sienna pretend our beach encounter never happened? Would there be tension? The office was buzzing with Monday morning energy. Designers clustered around coffee machines. Account managers rushed to meetings. Everything seemed normal, ordinary, completely unaffected by my extraordinary weekend. When I reached my desk, there was a small package waiting. The box was elegant, wrapped in paper the same color as beach sand. Inside was a tiny, expertly crafted glass sandcastle, its towers catching morning light and throwing tiny rainbows across my desk. And there was a note. "Some structures are worth building carefully. S." I looked up to see Sienna watching from her office doorway. She was back in professional attire, hair pulled back in its familiar bun. but her expression held warmth that hadn't been there before Saturday. She gave me a small nod before turning back to her computer. Something had shifted between us. The weeks that followed brought subtle but meaningful changes to life at Lumina Creative. Sienna implemented a flexible schedule policy for employees with children, citing research about productivity and work-life balance. Weekly team meetings moved from 5 o'clock to 3, allowing parents to pick up children from after-school programs. When Aria came down with the flu and I had to work from home for 3 days, Sienna personally rearranged the project timeline. She sent soup from a local restaurant, along with a coloring book for Aria and a note wishing her speedy recovery. And sometimes, when I stayed late, Sienna would stop by my desk with coffee and ask about Aria. She remembered details I had mentioned in passing: Aria's upcoming dance recital, her obsession with marine biology, her struggle with multiplication tables. "How's she feeling?" Sienna asked one evening, setting coffee on my desk. "Much better," I replied, gesturing to a drawing Aria had made. It featured a sandcastle and 3 stick figures labeled Daddy, Me, and Miss Sienna. "She wanted you to have this." Sienna took the drawing, her expression softening. "Tell her I'll treasure it." 2 months after our beach encounter, Sienna paused by my workspace late one evening. Everyone else had gone home, and the office was quiet except for the hum of computers. "You should leave, Mason. Aria will be waiting." "Mrs. Alvarez stays until 8 on Thursdays," I explained. "I'm trying to finish the Westfield mock-ups before tomorrow's meeting." Sienna studied the designs on my screen, leaning close enough that I could smell her perfume. Something subtle and sophisticated I had never noticed before. "They're good. Really good. But they'll still be good tomorrow." I looked up at her, noticing subtle changes in her appearance over recent weeks. Her hair was often looser now. Her clothing was still professional, but less severe. There was a softness that hadn't been there before. "Thank you," I said, saving my work, "for everything you've done lately. The schedule changes, the understanding about Aria. It's made a huge difference. Not just for me, but for everyone." Sienna was quiet for a moment, her eyes meeting mine. "You know, I've been thinking about what you said at the beach, about balance, and I'm not very good at it," she admitted, vulnerability in her voice. "I've spent so many years building this company that I forgot to build other things. Relationships, a life outside these walls. Harper keeps telling me that success means nothing if you don't have anyone to share it with." "Harper seems wise," I offered. "Harper is annoying," Sienna replied, but her smile suggested otherwise. "She's also usually right, which makes her even more annoying." I laughed, and she joined me, the sound filling the empty office with warmth. As I gathered my things, she added hesitantly, "There's a company picnic next month. Employees' families are welcome. Will you and Aria come?" The question felt weighted with meaning beyond a simple work function. "We'd love to," I replied, holding her gaze. "Good. I'll look forward to it." The company picnic was held on a perfect Saturday in late September. Lumina Creative had rented a section of Grant Park, complete with catered food and games for children. Aria had been excited for weeks, talking about nothing else. She had picked out her favorite yellow sundress and insisted on making a card for Miss Sienna. When we arrived, the park was bustling with activity. I recognized colleagues usually only seen in meetings, now surrounded by spouses and children. It was a different kind of energy, relaxed and genuine. "Daddy, there she is," Aria exclaimed, spotting Sienna near the food tables. She was dressed casually in jeans and a soft sweater, hair loose around her shoulders. She looked beautiful in a way that made my breath catch. Before I could stop her, Aria had run across the grass and thrown her arms around Sienna's waist. I watched as Sienna's surprise transformed into delight. "I made you a card," Aria announced, presenting her creation proudly. Sienna examined the card with the same attention she gave to important presentations. "This is beautiful, Aria. Is that us building a sandcastle?" "Yes. And there's Daddy watching because he was too scared to help at first, but then he did." I approached them, shaking my head. I was not scared. I was giving you too creative space. "Sure you were," Sienna teased, eyes meeting mine with warmth. "I'm glad you came. I'm glad you invited us." Sienna introduced us to Harper, who had come to support the event. "So you're the famous Mason," Harper said knowingly. Sienna hasn't stopped talking about the beach day for months. "Harper!" Sienna protested, cheeks flushing. "What? It's true. Mason said this about balance, and Mason's daughter is so smart, and Mason's designs are exceptional." "I'm going to disown you," Sienna threatened, but she was laughing. As the afternoon progressed, something shifted between us. Our conversations felt less like boss and employee, more like two people discovering how much they had in common. We talked about our childhoods, our dreams, our fears. She told me about losing her mother and how it shaped her. I told her about my divorce and the guilt I still carried. "You are enough," she said quietly, watching Aria play. "Anyone can see that. The way she looks at you, the way she trusts you, that's not failure, Mason. That's love." Her words hit me with unexpected force. "Thank you." Sienna touched my hand briefly, and the contact sent electricity through my entire body. We stood in comfortable silence, watching the children play, and I felt something settle into place within me. Something that felt like hope. The months that followed brought gradual deepening of our relationship. What started as professional respect evolved into friendship, and friendship began feeling like something more. We found excuses to work late together, conversations wandering far from quarterly reports into personal territory. When Aria had her dance recital, Sienna was there in the front row, cheering as loudly as any parent. When I got the flu, Sienna showed up at my apartment with soup and groceries. "You don't have to do this," I protested weakly from the couch. "I know," she replied, settling next to me. "But I want to." And when Aria asked one morning if Miss Sienna was going to become part of our family, I realized my daughter understood what was happening before I had acknowledged it. "I don't know, baby girl," I admitted. "Would you be okay with that?" Aria considered the question seriously. "She makes you smile different, like how you used to smile before Mommy left. I like that smile." Her words gave me courage to take the next step. I asked Sienna to dinner on a Friday evening, making it clear this was a date. She said yes before I finished the question. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant downtown. We talked for hours, losing track of time. She told me about her dreams of expanding Lumina Creative internationally. I told her about my secret ambition to write and illustrate children's books. We discovered shared passions for jazz music and documentary films. When I walked her to her car, she turned to me with an expression that made my heart stop. "I've been trying to be professional about this," she said softly. "Trying to pretend what I feel for you is just friendship. But I'm tired of pretending, Mason." So am I. When we kissed for the first time, standing in the amber glow of a street light, it felt like coming home. Like finding something I hadn't known I was looking for. 6 months after that first kiss, as Sienna and I walked along that same beach with Aria running ahead of us, our hands intertwined in a way that had become natural as breathing. I reflected on the impossible journey that had brought us here. The beach was quieter now, late autumn chasing away summer crowds. But the sand was still soft beneath our feet. The waves still whispered their endless secrets, and we were together in a way that felt exactly right. "What are you thinking about?" Sienna asked, squeezing my hand. "Just how grateful I am for the wind that day," I replied honestly. "If your wrap hadn't blown, we might never have had that conversation. We might still be boss and employee, never knowing what we were missing." Sienna laughed, the sound still wonderful to my ears. "Next time I'll just say hello like a normal person. Less embarrassing for everyone." "Where would be the fun in that?" I teased, pulling her closer. Some of the best things in life start with embarrassment. Ahead of us, Arya was already starting a new sandcastle, calling for us to hurry up and help. As we joined her on the sand, kneeling to construct walls and towers, I caught Sienna's eye and saw everything I was feeling. Wonder at the unexpected path. Gratitude for second chances. Hope for all the moments yet to come. "I love you," I told her. "I love you too," she replied. And in her eyes, I saw our future. More beach days, more sand castles, more love than I had ever dared to hope for. "I love you both," Araya added helpfully, smashing a tower she had just built because she decided it needed to be bigger. "Now less talking, more building. This castle isn't going to construct itself." Sienna and I exchanged amused looks before turning back to the task at hand. Our daughter, because that's what Arya had become to Sienna in every way that mattered, was right. Some things required focus and dedication, and some structures really were worth building carefully. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with the most awkward first chapters. Sometimes an accidental glance can change everything you thought you knew about your life and heart. And sometimes the family you build together is even stronger than the one you thought you were meant to have. As the sun set over Clearwater Beach, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold, I looked at the two people who had become my whole world and felt gratitude so profound it brought tears to my eyes. This was not the life I had planned. It was better. It was more. It was everything. And it all started with a wind and a beach wrap and the courage to see the human behind the title. The following spring, I proposed to Sienna on the same beach where we first truly met. Arya helped plan everything, keeping the secret with impressive determination. She scattered flower petals along a path leading to a spot marked by a sand castle. One we had built together, reinforced with resin so it would last. A permanent monument to our beginning. When Sienna said yes, Arya cheered so loudly that everyone on the beach turned to look. And when the three of us embraced, the waves applauding our joy, I knew that sometimes the most embarrassing moments really do lead to the most beautiful beginnings. They lead to forever.